Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Cosmic Blueprints Astrology. I'm Sino, and today we're exploring the most intense, powerful, and transformative force in astrology, Pluto the Transformer. Pluto is the planet that takes you to the depths, strips away everything false, and forces you to face what you'd rather avoid. It's the cosmic death and rebirth cycle, the phoenix rising from the ashes, the alchemical process that transforms lead into gold. Where Mars fights and Uranus disrupts, Pluto annihilates and regenerates. Where Neptune dissolves boundaries, Pluto destroys what no longer serves and rebuilds from the foundation. This is the planet of power, intensity, obsession, and profound transformation. Pluto rules what's hidden beneath the surface, secrets, shadows, the unconscious, and everything we'd prefer to keep buried. But Pluto insists that what's buried must eventually come to light, so that death leads to rebirth, and that true power comes from facing your darkness. In this video, we'll explore Pluto's mythology and symbolism, what Pluto represents in your birth chart, how it expresses through each zodiac sign, Pluto's aspects with other planets, significant Pluto transits, including the life-changing Pluto Square, and how to work with Pluto energy to embrace transformation rather than resist it. Whether Pluto terrifies you or fascinates you, understanding this planet will help you navigate the most profound changes of your life. So let's descend into the underworld and meet the Lord of Transformation. So let's start with the mythology and symbolism of Pluto. Pluto takes its name from the Roman god of the underworld, known as Hades in Greek mythology. Pluto ruled the realm of the dead, the unseen world beneath the surface where souls went after death. But here's what's often misunderstood. Pluto wasn't evil. He was actually one of the more just gods, maintaining cosmic balance and ensuring the natural cycle of death and rebirth continued. The most famous Pluto myth involves his abduction of Persephone, the maiden goddess of spring. He took her to the underworld to be his queen. Her mother, Demeter, goddess of the harvest, grieved so intensely that nothing would grow. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Persephone would spend part of the year in the underworld with Pluto and part of the year above ground with her mother. This myth perfectly captures Pluto's astrological themes: descent into darkness, transformation through crisis, death and rebirth cycles, and the seasons of the soul. Pluto was discovered in 1930, and the timing is profoundly significant. This period marked the Great Depression, the rise of fascism, the development of atomic energy, and the birth of depth psychology through Freud and Jung. Suddenly, humanity was confronting collective shadow, understanding unconscious forces, and wielding the power of atomic transformation, all Plutonian themes. Physically, Pluto is small but mighty. For decades classified as the 9th planet, it was classified as a dwarf planet in 2006, but in astrology, Pluto's influence remains undeniably powerful. This paradox, small size, enormous impact, is pure Pluto. True power doesn't require size. It requires intensity and the ability to create fundamental change. Pluto takes approximately 248 years to complete one orbit through all 12 zodiac signs, but its orbit is highly elliptical, meaning it spends vastly different amounts of time in each sign, anywhere from 12 to 32 years. This makes Pluto deeply generational. Entire generations share the same Pluto sign, coloring their collective relationship with power, transformation, and shadow. Pluto rules Scorpio, the sign of depth, intensity, sex, death, and rebirth. Together, Pluto and Scorpio represent humanity's journey into the unconscious, the confrontation with what we fear, and the alchemical transformation that turns suffering into strength. So now let's look at what Pluto represents in your chart. So Pluto in the birth chart reveals where you experience the most intense transformation, where you encounter power dynamics, and where you must face your shadow. So let's explore what Pluto governs. First, Pluto represents death, rebirth, and transformation. Not literal death necessarily, but the death of old identities, relationships, patterns, and ways of being. Pluto is the phoenix cycle. You must die to who you were to become who you're meant to be. Where Pluto sits in your chart is where you experience the most profound transformation, often through crisis. Second, Pluto rules power, control, and intensity. This planet governs your relationship with power, how you wield it, how you fear it, how you're drawn to it or dominated by it. Pluto shows where you're intense, obsessive, and all or nothing. It's where you can't do things halfway. You're either fully in or completely out. Third, Pluto governs the shadow, the unconscious, and what's hidden. This planet rules everything beneath the surface, so repressed emotions, hidden motivations, secrets, and the parts of yourself you've disowned. Pluto insists that what's unconscious must become conscious, that secrets eventually surface, and that shadow work is essential for wholeness. Fourth, Pluto rules sex, taboos, and primal drives. This planet rules sexual power, psychological depth, and everything society considers forbidden or taboo. Pluto is raw, primal, unfiltered life force. The drives and desires we're taught to hide but can't eliminate. Its connection through intensity and vulnerability. Fifth, Pluto rules obsession, compulsion, and extremes. Where Pluto is in your chart is where you can become obsessed, where you might experience compulsive behavior, and where moderation feels impossible. Pluto doesn't understand a little bit. It wants total immersion, complete transformation, absolute commitment. Sixth, Pluto governs crisis, trauma, and survival. This planet rules experiences that force transformation, major losses, betrayals, traumatic events, and survival situations. Pluto teaches that you're stronger than you know, that you can survive what feels unsurvivable, and that crisis can be the catalyst for your greatest evolution. And seventh, Pluto represents regeneration, healing, and empowerment. Here's Pluto's gift. After the death comes rebirth. After the breakdown comes breakthrough. After facing your shadow comes integration and authentic power. Pluto ultimately empowers by forcing you to reclaim the parts of yourself you've given away or buried. In your chart, Pluto's house placement shows the life area where you experience the most intense transformation, power struggles, and potential for deep healing. Your Pluto sign is generational, showing your generation's collective relationship with power and transformation. Pluto's aspects reveal how you handle intensity, whether transformation comes easily or through struggle. A well-integrated Pluto gives you resilience, depth, transformative power, and the ability to help others heal through their darkness. A challenged Pluto might manifest as power struggles, destructive patterns, fear of loss, or inability to let go and transform. So let's see Pluto through the zodiac signs. Because Pluto takes 248 years to orbit the Sun and spends 12 to 32 years in each sign, your Pluto sign is deeply generational. Each generation's Pluto sign reveals their collective shadow work and transformative mission. Pluto in Aries. This last occurred in 1822 through 1853, and the next will be 2068 through 2098. This brings transformation through pioneering action and identity revolution. This generation transforms concepts of self, courage, and independence. They often experience war or survival situations that test individual strength. The upcoming cycle will likely see transformation of what it means to be an individual. Pluto in Taurus. This loss occurred in 1852 through 1884, and the next will be 2098 through 2129. This transforms material reality, resources, and values. This generation witnessed massive economic transformation. Industrialization, changing relationship with money and resources. They face issues of wealth inequality and transformation of Earth's resources. The upcoming cycle will transform our relationship with physical reality itself. Pluto in Gemini. This loss occurred in 1882 through 1914, and the next will be 2129 through 2158. This transforms communication, information, and thinking. This generation saw revolutionary changes in communication, so telephone, telegram, and mass media. They transformed how information spreads. The next cycle will likely see even more radical transformation of communication, possibly through technology we can't yet imagine. Pluto in Cancer. This loss occurred in 1914 through 1939, and the next will be 2158 through 2184. This transforms family, home, and emotional security. This generation experienced world wars that disrupted families, displaced populations, and transformed concepts of home and belonging. They carry deep ancestral trauma and must heal family wounds to transform collective consciousness. Pluto in Leo. This loss occurred in 1937 through 1958, and the next will be 2184 through 2212. This transforms creativity, self-expression, and leadership. This generation transformed entertainment, celebrity culture, and concepts of creative power. They must learn right use of personal power and creative expression. They're here to transform what it means to shine and lead. Pluto in Virgo. This loss occurred in 1956 through 1972, and the next will be 2212 through 2239. This transforms health, work, and service. This generation transformed medicine, health consciousness, and work structures. They brought awareness to environmental health and holistic healing. They must transform perfectionism into practical wisdom and service into sacred practice. Pluto in Libra. This loss occurred in 1971 through 1984. The next will be 2236 through 2266. This transforms relationships, justice, and equality. This generation witnessed transformation of marriage laws, gender roles in relationships, and social justice movements. They're here to transform relationship dynamics from power struggles to authentic partnership and to pursue justice and equality relentlessly. Pluto in Scorpio. This loss occurred in 1983 through 1995, and the next will be 2266 through 2293. This is Pluto at home, operating with maximum intensity. This generation is naturally comfortable with depth, intensity, and transformation. They came of age during the AIDS crisis, deepening understanding of sex and death. They're unafraid of darkness, psychology, and taboo subjects. They're here to transform collective relationship with sex, death, and power itself. Pluto in Sagittarius. This loss occurred in 1995 through 2008, and the next will be 2293 through 2320. This transforms belief systems, religion, and global consciousness. This generation witnessed religious extremism and cultural conflicts while also experiencing unprecedented global connection through the internet. They must transform rigid beliefs into expansive wisdom and nationalism into global awareness. Pluto in Capricorn. This loss occurred in 1762 through 1778 and 2008 through 2024. The next will be 2320 through 2347. This transforms power structures, government, and institutions. The American Revolution occurred during the last Pluto in Capricorn. The current generation is witnessing and creating massive institutional transformations, so economic systems, governments, corporate structures. They're here to dismantle corrupt power structures and rebuild with integrity. Pluto in Aquarius. This loss occurred in 1777 through 1798 and 2023 through 2044. The next will be 2347 through 2374. This transforms collective consciousness, technology, and human connection. The last cycle brought revolutionary ideals of equality and human rights. The current cycle we're undergoing is already showing transformation through AI, technology, and collective awakening. This generation will transform what it means to be human in a technological age. Pluto in Pisces. This last occurred in 1797 through 1823, and the next will be 2043 through 2068. This transforms spirituality, compassion, and collective consciousness. This generation will face and heal collective trauma, transform spiritual understanding, and potentially dissolve remaining barriers between people. They'll confront escapism while accessing genuine transcendence. Remember, your personal Pluto experience is more specifically shown by its house placement and aspects in your individual chart. Now let's look at Pluto aspects and relationships. Pluto aspects to personal planets create some of the most intense and transformative dynamics in your chart. Pluto Sun aspects connect your core identity with transformation and power. Harmonious aspects create natural intensity, charisma, and transformative presence. These people are powerful without trying and often play catalytic roles in others' lives. Power struggles with authority or fear of one's own power. The father relationship often involves power dynamics or absence. These individuals must learn to own their power without dominating or being dominated. Pluto Moon aspects link emotions with intensity and transformation. Harmonious aspects create emotional depth, psychological insight, and ability to heal others' emotions. Challenging aspects can manifest as emotional intensity, trust issues, or using emotions manipulatively. The mother relationship often involves power struggles, manipulation, or emotional intensity. These individuals feel everything intensely and must learn emotional boundaries without numbing. Pluto-Mercury aspects create penetrating, intense thinking. Harmonious aspects give investigative minds ability to uncover truth and powerful communication. Challenging aspects can bring obsessive thinking, mental power struggles, or using words to control. These people see beneath surfaces and can't tolerate superficiality. They must learn to use their perceptive power for healing, not manipulation. Pluto-Venus aspects intensify love, attraction, and values. Harmonious aspects create magnetic attractiveness, transformative relationships, and deep emotional connections. Challenging aspects can manifest as obsessive love, jealousy, power struggles in relationships, or attracting transformative but difficult partners. These individuals experience love as all-consuming and must learn that healthy love includes autonomy. Pluto-Mars aspects combine will with transformation and intensity. Harmonious aspects create enormous willpower, courage, and transformative action. Challenging aspects can bring destructive anger, power struggles, or compulsive action. These individuals have tremendous survival drive and must learn to use their intensity constructively rather than destructively. Pluto-Jupiter aspects amplify both planets' qualities. Harmonious aspects create powerful optimism, transformative wisdom, and ability to overcome enormous obstacles. Challenging aspects can bring excessive intensity, power-seeking through belief systems, or transformative experiences through excess. These people think big and transform big. Pluto-Saturn aspects combine structure with transformation, authority with power. Harmonious aspects creates ability to build lasting transformation and wielding power responsibly. Challenging aspects create fear of loss, control issues, or experiencing harsh limitations that force growth. These individuals must learn that true authority includes vulnerability and that control is an illusion. Pluto-Uranus aspects are generational, combining transformation with awakening and revolution. This creates generations who transform through sudden disruption, who awaken through crisis, or who revolutionize power structures themselves. Pluto-Neptune aspects are also generational, blending transformation with transcendence. These aspects create generations who transform spirituality, who face collective spiritual crisis, or who heal through accessing transpersonal realms. Now let's look at Pluto transits and cycles. Understanding Pluto transits helps you navigate life's most transformative periods. So the Pluto Square Pluto occurs around ages 36 through 42. Timing varies due to Pluto's elliptical orbit. This is a major life crisis point, often coinciding with other midlife transits. The square forces you to confront what's not working, to release old identities, and to reclaim disowned power. Many people experience major life changes during this period. Career shifts, relationship endings, relocating, or internal transformation. This is powerful but necessary death and rebirth. The Pluto opposition Pluto would occur around age 124, which no one experiences. However, we do experience Pluto opposing itself through other people's charts, showing us our shadow through relationship mirrors. Pluto sextile Pluto around ages 29 and 30, and Pluto trine Pluto around ages 56 through 60 are supportive aspects offering opportunities to integrate Pluto's lessons more smoothly, often through mentoring others or applying hard-won wisdom. Pluto retrograde occurs annually for about 5 to 6 months. During this period, transformation turns inward. External power struggles may ease while internal shadow work intensifies. It's time for honest self-examination, facing what you've avoided and releasing what you're gripping too tightly. If you were born with Pluto retrograde in your natal chart, you have an internalized relationship with power and transformation. Often these individuals fear their own power or intensity. They transform slowly, internally, and completely. External crises may be less traumatic, but internal psychological work is profound. They're learning to own their power without apology. Pluto transits to your natal planets bring death and rebirth experiences in whatever area that planet represents. A Pluto transit to your Venus might transform your relationships or values. To your Sun might create identity crisis and renewal. To your Moon might bring emotional intensity and healing. These transits last years because Pluto moves so slowly, creating prolonged transformation rather than sudden change. The key with Pluto transits is surrender. What must die will die, whether you resist it or not. What must transform will transform. The more you resist, the more painful the process. The more you surrender to the transformation, trusting the phoenix cycle, the more empowered you become. So, how do you work with Pluto energy? Pluto is intense and demanding, but learning to work with it transforms victimhood into empowerment. Here's how. First, embrace the death and rebirth cycle. Pluto teaches that endings are necessary for new beginnings. When something in your life is dying, a relationship, job, identity, belief, don't cling desperately. Grieve, yes. Feel the loss, absolutely. But understand that Pluto is clearing out space for something more authentic. Trust the cycle. Second, do your shadow work. Pluto insists you face what you've buried. Work with therapists, do inner child healing, journal about what triggers you, and own your projections. Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's your power source. What you reject in yourself, you'll attract in others. Integration creates wholeness. Third, examine your relationship with power. Pluto asks, where do you give your power away? Where do you try to control others? Where do you fear your own strength? True power isn't control, it's authentic presence. Practice owning your power without dominating and respecting others' power without submitting. Fourth, practice radical honesty. Pluto can't tolerate superficiality or denial. Tell the truth, especially to yourself. Admit that you actually feel, want, and fear. Honesty creates transformation, denial creates destruction. This doesn't mean sharing everything with everyone, but stop lying to yourself. Fifth, allow intensity without being consumed by it. Pluto feels everything deeply. This is your gift, not your curse. But intensity doesn't mean obsession. Feel deeply, then release. Experience Experience fully, then let go. Intensity with detachment is Pluto's mastery. 6th, transform trauma into strength. Pluto shows that your wounds can become your medicine. What you've survived gives you unique power to help others. Your darkness, once faced and integrated, becomes your light. This doesn't mean trauma is good. It means you can transform its impact. 7th, release control and trust the process. Pluto's ultimate lesson is that control is illusion. You can't control outcomes, other people, or even your own transformation. You can only surrender to the process, do the work, and trust that destruction serves. Let go or be dragged. 8th, use your power for transformation, not manipulation. Pluto gives you influence, magnetism, and the ability to impact others deeply. Use this ethically. Transform, don't manipulate. Empower, don't control. Your power is meant to heal, not harm. 9th, cultivate resilience through acceptance. Pluto tests your survival skills. Each crisis you survive proves your resilience. Stop fighting what is. Accept reality fully, then work from there. Acceptance isn't resignation, it's the foundation for authentic change. And finally, remember that transformation is your birthright. You're not meant to stay the same. You're designed to evolve, to shed old skins, to die, and to be reborn repeatedly. Each transformation makes you more authentically yourself. Pluto doesn't destroy you, it reveals you. Pluto is your cosmic alchemist, the force that transforms suffering into strength, death into rebirth, and darkness into authentic power. Yes, Pluto is intense. Yes, it demands you face what you'd rather avoid. But Pluto ultimately empowers you by stripping away everything false until only truth remains. Understanding your Pluto placement reveals where you experience the most profound transformation, where you must face power dynamics and shadow material, and where you have the potential for deepest healing. Whether your Pluto is transforming through intense Scorpio or revolutionary Aquarius, it's showing you the path to authentic empowerment. Remember, Pluto doesn't give you anything you can't handle. Every death leads to rebirth. Every crisis carries the seed of transformation. Every shadow faced becomes integrated light. When you work with Pluto consciously, surrendering to the process rather than resisting it, you become unstoppable. Not because you control everything, but because you've learned that your true power comes from facing everything. Thank you so much for watching Cosmic Blueprints Astrology. If this journey into Pluto's transformative depths has resonated with your soul, please like this video and subscribe for more in-depth planetary guides. Comment below with your Pluto sign and house placement and share your most significant Pluto transformation. I'd love to hear your Phoenix stories. But until next time, please keep well, beautiful souls.